I'm Mark Robertson back with you here talking about my book, Carrying Lawn Chairs, Youth Sports and Other Parental Mindsets. We've been going over each chapter in the book and giving a brief synopsis of the chapter. And so you can watch my videos here on YouTube and learn a lot about the book, or you can get it, of course, on Amazon for just under $10, the book version, or $2.99, the electronic version. And you can do both, of course. But we've talked about each chapter. The first part of the book dealt with parents and youth sports and all the problems I have with organized youth sports. The second part of the book, we talk about parents and the child dynamic in many other areas. Today's topic is hope. And it seems today that so many young people lose hope. They see the world in kind of a distorted way. They watch the news, or they go to school and learn all these crazy things in the crazy world, what they're teaching in schools these days. And they seem to lose hope and get discouraged. And they see what's happening, and they don't like they have any control on their lives. And there's a lot of good happening in this world, but they seem to lose hope in the future. And a lot of children do this. They go to school, they just kind of are down on life. Their things aren't going great. They have a hard time in school. And I was just wondering, how does a child go from a very innocent child, born happy, naturally happy, to wanting to kill themselves or taking drugs or things like this? How do we get to this point in this society today? A lot of kids are very disoriented and don't know what they want in life or what's going on in life, and they want to get along, so they do crazy things like wear black outfits or do drugs or get involved in all kinds of crazy things, promiscuity, promiscuous sex, things like that. And it's just not good. It's all about wanting to be loved and wanting to be liked and noticed and things like that, and they don't know how to go about it. Likely in their family life, they were berated by their parents or bullied in school, so this kind of throws gasoline on the fire. They're more confused and everything, and they don't know what to do. They're just reaching out or acting out, or they just don't know what to do next. And they're very likely their God-given talents weren't brought out by their parents or their teachers, or they're never showed how they are actually very unique person, have a very unique gifts from God, and they have talents from God. They're put in these public schools. They're all treated the same. It's all about conformity and doing things the same way, and that's good for some people. Some people like to conform. Some people are meant, but some people aren't. Some people are renegades, natural renegades, but they try to put them in this square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work, and the schools try to treat people the same. And every child, in my opinion, has an ability to learn. Kids learn differently. Some learn the way traditional schools teach. You go into a classroom, you have a teacher there teaching, and some thrive in that, but some don't. And some kids can't sit in a school for 8 hours a day. It drives them crazy. So what do they do to them? They give them drugs or something like that. So that even puts the spiral downward even more. They lose even more hope. And it goes on. The kids need to be told that they have a genius. Every child is a miracle, a gift from God, and a genius. And they lose this along the way. First of all, can't even talk about God in schools these days, even though the founders never had that intention at all. They wanted God taught. They wanted right and wrong taught based on biblical principles. But the schools are so far away from that these days, and it was a fraud to get rid of prayer in public schools in the first place. But they lose all hope. They don't see much hope in life, and they're basically living a lie. And when you're living a lie, you're in pain, and they're trapped, and they don't know what to do. And these kids, they lose hope. They don't know how to escape, and their dreams, they've lost hope. Whatever dreams they had, they've been quashed, and so they just kind of exist. And like I say again, they don't see their life as a miracle, and they need some encouragement and some hope in this life. And in today's scene, it's kind of hard to get for many young kids, and so it's kind of not a happy chapter to talk about, but kids need hope. They need hope in the future. They need hope in their life, and they can get that through a number of ways. I mean, parenting and in school too, and church and things like that, or reading good books. There's ways to get it, but it seems like there's a lot of obstacles for kids these days. And the schools, in my opinion, many of them, especially the public schools, do more like pour gasoline on the fire than help the situation. They can't teach right and wrong. They can't teach that God made people a miracle, because we can't have God in school. And so naturally the kids are on the wrong track to start with. It's just a secularized religion. It's still teaching religion. It's just secularism. And so a lot of kids lose hope. They get disgusted and discouraged. And young children they're born with hope. They're naturally born with a belief in God and hope for the future. But they lose this along the way. It's squashed by so many factors, by well-meaning parents, by bad parents, by friends who bully them, by even well-meaning friends, relations, neighbors, things like this, pointing out what they should be doing and all the things like this. And there gets so much stuff thrown their way, and it becomes really a tough situation for them, and they lose hope. And there's a lot of pressure on these kids. And so what's the answer? The answer is to encourage them, just let them know what a true gift of God they are for this world. And yes, it's not easy. And yes, they have to do certain things to get along in the world and adjust and do things to get along necessary. And they are responsible for a number of things. But they also have to know that they're a true gift from God, and they have a lot to offer this world. And they need to be encouraged. And what about the schools? I don't know. I mean, I can't just go get rid of public schools, so that ain't going to happen. But somehow they're going to have to get back to having prayer in schools, and which was thrown out unconstitutionally. It was a joke how it was gotten rid of. It was a total fraud, and there's no reason. We went 200 years with prayer in schools, and all of a sudden it's illegal. That makes no sense. The founders would be turning over in their graves if they knew this. I mean, they know this, and it's happening, and so they are turning over in their graves. It's crazy. It's nonsense, and we've gotten so far away from the original intent of the founders in so many ways, and we see the results. Many kids are confused. They've lost hope. They just kind of exist in the world, and they go from day to day, and they go to these government schools, and it's just not a fun situation for them. Then they graduate or don't graduate, and they're just kind of lost. And so we need to give these kids hope. Somehow they need to get hope. They need to be encouraged, and they need to have hope in life. And there's so many ways to do it, but the main way is to make them realize they're a very unique gift from God, and they have so much to offer to the world as they are. Yes, they have to do things. Yes, they need to hone their talents. They have talents from God, and they need to work on them and things like that. But they are great just as they are, just for breathing. They need to know that. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me. They have to think you have to have accomplishments before you can feel good. And yes, I have no problem with that. But they also have to know that they are innately worthy, and they are worthy of love just for being alive. And they're such a precious gift from God and have so much to offer to the world. And but so many kids these days don't seem to even have a clue what that means, and they get off into so many tangents and so many things of immorality and all this craziness of transgenderism and all this other stuff going on in schools these days. It's a mess. I mean, it just has to get back to the basic biblical beliefs and principles, and that's the best way to go. And anything else is just confusing and leads to chaos. So we thank you for joining us, and we're getting near the end of the book. Only a few more chapters to go. So if you've been with us this long, we appreciate it, and we will talk to you next time.